Hi, everybody. I'm Nancy Byrne.
And I'm Crystal Allen.
And it is with very mixed emotions that this is my very last City Beat that I will be doing. After 20 years with the City of Las Vegas and specifically Channel 2, I am going to be retiring. And believe it or not, Crystal, that's like 500 shows and more than 3,200 stories.
Can you believe that?
I know. And my beloved coworkers have asked me to narrow that down to a few of my favorites. So sit back, relax, and get ready for a 12-hour special.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a long one, but it's going to be a good one. I guarantee you that, because this incredible talent is behind it all, and we are going to miss her so dearly. I want to hold on to her. I don't want to let her go.
Okay, so it's going to be a 13-hour special by the time we're done.
And counting. And counting. But listen, it's a tall order, but we are definitely going to try to do it for you in an hour.
That's right.
Yes.
So let's start off with some of the half-hour specials we've done over the years, starting with the one that won our very first Emmy from the City of Las Vegas, called Las Vegas Gangs, Not Our Kids, produced by Jesse Harville, myself, and Eric Sorensen. It was a look at the prevalence of gangs in our community and community efforts to keep our kids from falling into one of these dangerous groups.
For thousands of kids in Las Vegas, after-school activities such as football and soccer don't exist. For them, the afternoon and nighttime hours are filled with a more deadly game of survival on our streets.
A night doesn't go by where some kind of violence or gang violence doesn't occur in our community.
8,000 teens and children are involved in gangs. They outnumber our police force. And even if your kid doesn't join one of the 300 gangs in our city, they can still be in danger because the violence is crossing lines into our schoolyards and our own backyards. But as you're about to learn, this is not a time to give up. Law enforcement, school officials, city leaders, and parents have sounded the alarm. They're joining forces to get our kids back and to keep others out of gangs and out of gang crossfire. Stay with us for the next half hour for the shocking reality of just how prevalent the problem is in our community, but more importantly, what you can do to stand up and say, not our kids. Start by introducing you to one mother who wished she had been a little more informed so that perhaps she could have prevented her son from getting shot. On April 26th, 3 young men were standing near the corner of Sandhill and Bonanza when gunshots came out of nowhere. Police say the shooting, which they believe was gang-related, injured 2 of the men and killed the 3rd. This woman, who asked not to be identified, is the mother of one of the injured. Her 15-year-old son was hit twice. He survived, but his life is changed forever.
He witnessed his cousin to get killed. He's been shot. He is a sports fanatic. Football, baseball, basketball is now gone, you know. The countless hours that we've spent and the time and money that we've invested in him because he wanted to pursue that as a career, is gone.
She says her son is proof that even those not involved in gangs are not necessarily safe from gang violence. And in hindsight, she wishes she had been more on top of where he was that night.
You know, we really made a strong effort to not just exploit the problem, but to also offer solutions for parents, guardians, loved ones who may know someone who could be falling into that gang trap.
And it's so important that you all did that. You not only told this story, but also gave people perspective on how we can try to do something about it in our community, which is so important. Now, that was the first of many specials that you all did. So let's talk about another one.
Okay, we did one on human trafficking. It focused on teen prostitution, how young girls and boys are groomed to become trafficked, and what their loved ones can do to spot those signs of grooming and hopefully step in to prevent the entrance into that dangerous and often deadly life.
You know, almost 500,000 kids run away each year. Most of them within the first 48 hours will be lured towards prostitution in some form or fashion.
The average age of entry into commercial sexual exploitation is 12 to 13 in the U.S.
It's hard to break them out of that when they do get under control of a pimp.
It's not like Pretty Woman. The only part that's going to be pretty is when you're laying in your casket. And eventually, if you don't go down by AIDS, you're going to go down by man's hand.
It is possible to live a life beyond your wildest dreams, filled with hope, faith, and courage. It's possible because I'm a living example.
For the first 8 months of 2011, nearly 300 women were booked in the Las Vegas Detention Center, charged with solicitation of prostitution. And for the majority of these women, this was not their first time behind bars. Like this young woman, we'll call her Amy. She says this is her 12th arrest for prostitution.
In the beginning, it was to support my drug habit. And then I had my son, Micah, and I got clean. During that clean time, I did it just to support him. Because it was easier money than getting a job.
But getting a real job and living a good life is exactly what many of these women really want. And for those willing to do the hard work to reach that goal, there is this.
One of the things that I like to start off with is having you take a look at your booking photos, because that gives us a real dramatic visual as far as where you've come from and where you are today.
This is one of several specialty courts within the Las Vegas Municipal Court system. It's called the Women in Need Court, or WIN Court. It's run by Chief Judge Cynthia Lee Young and is an intense program that offers everything from substance abuse counseling to GED classes.
And, you know, Nancy, you did that story 10 years ago, right? Yeah, I mean, obviously doing your part to try to raise awareness about this very important issue in our community, but yet still very prevalent today, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, and you know, another issue that is very prevalent, and we know this because we've done a lot of public service announcements to try to cure this issue, and that is our pet overpopulation issue. We did a special on that as well. This particular special was done by Steve and Tyler Pierce, myself, Eric Sorensen, and Steve Horlock. It was called 4 Lives, and it tracked the lives of 4 animals brought into the Animal Foundation, and the only 4 paths that get them out of there. Those are adoption, fostering by a particular breed rescue group, being reunited with their owners after getting loose, or sadly, euthanasia.
During the summer, we can get in anywhere between 100 to actually all the way up to 300 animals was the most we ever got in one day.
For the hundreds of animals that are displaced from their homes and unwanted, the love and the attention that they receive here during their stay with us may have been the only love and attention they received their entire lives.
Yeah, it's kind of sad, you know, that they people move out and leave these dogs behind. Kind of makes you wonder if they can sleep at night, you know, knowing that they left these animals behind.
There's no question that pet overpopulation in this community and many, many others is a significant challenge. It's a real problem, and it's a sad, tragic problem. Having said that, there's lots and lots of hope.
Meet Arlo and Bach. For these two guys, it's a good day to be a dachshund. Like many breeds out there, there's a rescue league for dachshunds. These leagues spend countless hours every week scouring shelters for their respective breeds or answering calls from the shelters about a dog that might just fit into their foster program. Stephanie Gregerson of the Las Vegas Doberman and Dachshund Rescue answered a call from the Animal Foundation about Arlo and Bach, two dogs that didn't quite pass the medical or behavioral screening done on all animals who come into the shelter, but had potential if the Rescue League was willing to step in.
If they have a behavioral or health issue where they're not able to move to adoptions, then the dog is, we're given a call, and we have the option of taking the dog into our rescue and helping them. A lot of times a dog gets just fearful in the environment, and we want to get them out, put them into a foster home, and let them gather their courage and be allowed to be adopted into a forever home.
You know, Nancy, that is such an interesting look at the four paths that animals take when they go into these rescue facilities. I don't think people really think about that. But this is something that was near and dear to your heart because, you know, you're an animal lover.
Absolutely.
Shout out to Nellie and Pebbles, her fur babies.
Yes.
But I'm so glad you got a chance to give people that perspective as to the paths that these animals take.
Yeah, responsible ownership is what it all boils down to. And full disclosure, I could not go on the fourth story where the puppy was put to sleep. Eric Sorensen offered to do it without me because I just couldn't. As humanely as they do that, and they give them treats and turn down the music and the lights, and
it's still a tough one.
The work of angels over there. So anyway, moving on to yet another topic that's near and dear to all of us, and that is bullying and cyberbullying, our last special.
He bullied me so bad that I was shaking and I couldn't go to school for 6 weeks. It scared me and it scared everybody in my family.
It's just not cool because other kids don't get to be bullied. I'm the only one that gets to be bullied because I'm different. It felt kind of awful.
You know, she was just such a good person. She didn't deserve that. I don't want any other family to experience loss like my family has.
However you feel right now, your life is meaningful. And you have to really believe that. You owe it to society and the world to talk to somebody and to share with them your feelings.
Oh my gosh, Haley was incredibly remarkable, you know, smart. She never got a grade below an A. She was the only student in her elementary school to get a perfect score on the proficiency exam. She liked to bake and cook too. You know, there'd be several nights when she would ask if she could make dinner for the entire family, and she liked to bake desserts and decorate them herself. And we have a very close family, and Haley's relationship with me, you know, epitomized Daddy's little girl. And if it could happen to our family and it could happen to Haley, it could happen to anyone. She was bullied at school. It was repeated verbal abuse.
And kudos to the kids and the parents who are willing to share such personal stories with us.
Absolutely.
Really makes a difference in people's lives, including our very own Stephen Tyler Pierce and his beautiful son, Zach.
We appreciate them both, and we appreciate everyone who shared their story. We know it takes a lot to be vulnerable, to be willing to share some of those difficult times in your life, but you never know the impact that it's making on someone who's looking. And you did such a beautiful job of being able to connect with them and being able to share those stories.
You know, Crystal and I both come from news. You may remember her from not too long ago, I mean, a long, long time ago. But these half-hour specials are very important because it gives you a half hour to delve into a topic as opposed to in news when you're really forced to kind of do everything in about a minute 30. So
absolutely.
What an honor to be able to do that.
And we hope it sheds some light on some very serious issues. Now, we know that you did a wonderful job of bringing light to social issues in our community, huge advocate of that. we also know that she has such a deep passion for animals. She loves the fur babies, however they come in whatever form.
Yes, exactly.
She loves all the animals, from giant horses to delicate owls. She has covered it all. And on the other side of the break, we're going to take a deep dive into it.
If you've been affected by suicide, you're not alone. Suicide is a leading cause of death that affects millions each year. In most cases, it happens when stressful life events overload the coping abilities of someone suffering from a mental health condition. And the most common condition associated with suicide is depression, an illness that goes undiagnosed or untreated far too often. But the research is clear. Suicide is preventable if we work together. The American Foundation for Suicide Prevention has set a bold goal to reduce the annual suicide rate 20% by 2025. We can save tens of thousands of lives, but we need the help of everyday heroes like you. People have suffered in silence for too long, and too many families have had to weather their losses alone. You can change that. We need you to be the voice for suicide prevention, and it can be as simple as reaching out to a friend, because talk saves lives. If you're having thoughts of suicide, or if you're concerned about someone else, assume you are the only one who will reach out. You can also join hundreds of thousands across the country for our Out of the Darkness community walks and raise awareness of suicide within your community. Together, we'll bring hope to those affected by suicide and raise awareness to save lives. Learn how you can fight suicide. Visit afsp.org today.
Selfie. Nailed it.
Welcome back, everyone, to this very special edition of City Beat. It's a walk down memory lane, City Beat, right?
A 20-year memory lane.
Yes, we are celebrating 20 years of this phenomenal storyteller, incredible journalist, and just friend of the community, Nancy Byrne.
Thank you.
20 years with the city of Las Vegas, and also specifically here with Channel 2.
That's right, that's right. And you know, the good thing about working here is I got to cover almost anything I wanted to, which, you know, in my case includes animals.
Yes.
And it was such an honor to be able to highlight people out in our community who are the voice of these animals that often suffer or go unnoticed. And so we were able to feature a lot of those people as well. Well, it was at our city council meeting where Jacqueline Leventhal and Doug Lynch were being honored for their work rescuing wild Mustangs that I decided to cover their nonprofit organization, Wild at Heart Mustang Sanctuary. It's a wonderful ranch up in Cold Creek where roundups by the Bureau of Land Management resulted in a new home for these beautiful wild animals.
We moved up here and there were a tremendous amount of wild horses shortly after, about a year after the BLM rounded them up. And we just felt terrible about it. You know, they take them to California, they're in these holding pens, separated from their families. It's heartbreaking. And so we decided that we would start adopting some.
One adoption led to another. Then in 2017, they decided to start the nonprofit organization, Wild at Heart Mustang Sanctuary. Now they have 24 Mustangs, along with some burros and goats. They say Mustangs have a spirit and an intelligence that make them exceptional horses.
The Mustangs are very emotionally intelligent, and they form bonds with you, and they become part of our family, essentially. So, you know, it's like caring for a family member.
To be able to bond with an animal that can kill you like that, but yet have a relationship with it, like that, is just amazing. Just hard to even put into words.
When they bring a newly adopted horse to the sanctuary, the first order of business is to gain the horse's trust and form that bond. They are both Mustang Heritage Foundation tip trainers, which means they can gentle a horse that may have been running free for years.
You take a wild horse out of holding, and you have 90 days to gentle it, which doesn't mean saddle train it, but to get it so you can halter it, pick up its feet, groom it, put it in and out of a trailer.
By the way, that is a service they provide for people who adopt wild horses, so the horses are then ready to train for riding by their new owners.
Oh my gosh, horses are so majestic.
I know,
right?
I love them.
Gorgeous creatures. I love animals. I love animals, but I love horses.
Me too. Well, you know, while we're on the topic of horses, my husband Jim and I were taking a walk when we moved up to the northwest part of the city, And we came across another ranch that had a variety of horses, from giant Belgians to fjords to little ponies. And we ended up finding out the story behind that ranch. Well, I discovered the horses were part of a show called Gladius the Show. They perform all over the country. The humans as beautiful aerialists, and the horses, well, doing what they do. After doing a couple of stories on this group, I also discovered that about 90% of those horses are rescues from slaughterhouses, sure death or neglect and abuse, which of course only endeared me to them even more. Here's a look at that story.
So yeah, when we got him, he was a skeleton. I don't know why someone didn't feed him for so long, but whatever it was, he was completely malnourished. He was always really cuddly and friendly. Like there wasn't the emotional side of it. But when we got him, we had to feed him just nonstop for about 3 months just to get him to where they weren't just skin and bone anymore.
It would be much easier and a lot less time-consuming to get horses that are already trained to be ridden and ready to learn to be part of the show. But the performers in this show are not only highly skilled vaulters and aerialists, they are first and foremost animal lovers and advocates for rescuing these magnificent creatures from harm or death. So to them, it's worth the extra work and patience.
What incredible work they're doing, right? To rescue these beautiful animals. And now they have a whole new life.
They do.
Right?
And as they say, these horses, they're workhorses and they want a job. So
that's right.
Now they're not only loved and taken care of, but they have a job.
They're horses with jobs.
You know, I drive by there a lot, and especially in the summer months, it gets so hot here. And of course, I worry about them thinking, oh my gosh, how do they stand the heat?
Yes. Oh, but she found out how they stay.
This is hilarious. I had her laughing for about 10 minutes. Take a look at this.
Cute. Be filled with joy watching that. As I always like to say, that tickled my spirit.
Tickles her spirit.
That tickled my spirit, honey.
I love those horses. They're such gentle types.
Precious. I love when they were spraying them like in their mouth.
I know. That's like drinking out of a fire hose. But not too far from that ranch, I discovered a family of little owls. And then after some research, found out that they are burrowing owls and they are protected by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. In fact, the service has a program where it partners up with public and private entities to build burrows for those birds. They've built several at Floyd Land Park at Tule Springs on private property, donated by bird lovers, and then out there at Gilcrease Orchards in the Northwest.
We installed 4 burrows. It looks like 3 are now being used by owls.
She also formed a partnership with another property not too far from this area, Gilcrease Orchard. Here, more artificial burrows were built in 2 separate habitats, and it's been a win-win situation for the birds and the orchard.
Since the owls fly at night, and so do moths, and so if you've ever grown tomatoes and you've seen the big tomato hornworms, we don't have that problem here. And I contribute a lot of that to the owls.
The benefits that Mark Rubin sees to the crops here at Gilcrease answer that bigger question that sometimes arises. Why is it so important to protect our wildlife?
So it's balance, keeping everything in balance. The more species you have, they've evolved together. They each do a job in the community.
So really, it's just the wise thing to do.
Nancy, that last shot really got me. Like, honestly, it's almost as if that owl was saying, I'm an owl, and I approve this message.
That's right. That's right. The wise thing to do.
Right, the wise thing to do.
Well, we're kind of talking about politics.
Yeah.
I've only worked for 2 mayors in my 20 years.
That's right. Wow. And they just happen to be husband and wife.
That's right.
They were on 25 years combined.
Years. Yep, absolutely.
Right? One got an extra year.
Yes.
One Miss Mayor Carolyn Goodman.
Him forget.
Nope,
yes.
She does not. So you worked under first Mayor Oscar Goodman, then Mayor Carolyn Goodman, and you all had such a wonderful relationship.
We did. So we're going to revisit some of those stories too when we come back.
A full life, measured in seats, starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
Hey, must be super fun to ride that bike. It's awesome to go so fast you blow past every other car on the road. But you know what wouldn't be so awesome? You getting you killed going too fast.
If you won't listen to anyone else, at least listen to you. Save yourself. Ride safe. Paid for by the Nevada Departments of Public Safety and Transportation.
Congratulations to the City of Las Vegas Employee of the Month, Nicole Edos. Nicole has worked for the city for more than 10 years and is known as a problem solver in her role as a community development coordinator. In her role with the city, Nicole works closely with developers to walk them through the city's development process to get their projects off the ground, many of them involving multiple departments and a lot of moving parts. Nicole brings staff from throughout the city together so that new projects can get under development and thrive. Here in the city of Las Vegas, we have many projects in various stages of development. Some will be developed, some won't, but Nicole ensures staff is always responsive to the needs of developers so they can be successful.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We certainly hope you're enjoying this special edition of City Beat as much as we are. Right. We're having a great time walking down memory lane, celebrating, what did you say? You've done more than 32,000 stories, right?
3,200.
Well, it seems like 32,000.
Sometimes it sure does.
With all the stories she's done, 500 shows of City Beat. She's going to be dearly missed so much. Nancy retiring after 20 years here with the City of Las Vegas, specifically too with Channel 2. She has been the face and has done so much to really build so much credibility to this TV
but I'm
station.
handing it off to this beautiful face.
Oh my goodness!
We're in good hands or a good face. You know, when I first started working at the city in 2004, Mayor Oscar Goodman was our mayor at the time, and I'd already established a really good and what I believe was a mutually respectful relationship with him. I worked in at Channel 8 for several years and had interviewed him several times, and really came to admire his leadership and the way he spearheaded the amazing revitalization of our city, especially the downtown. Just to name a few of his major accomplishments, turning 61 acres in the middle of downtown into Symphony Park with a world-class Smith Center for Performing Arts, the Lou Ruvo Center for Brain Health, and retail and residential projects, expanding our medical district, revitalizing the downtown with the Arts District, our beautiful new City Hall, and, well, so much more. And, you know, when he left office in the old City Hall, it was like a museum was closing down, as his office was a collection of amazing memorabilia. From caricatures to cartoons to gifts from world leaders to the throne in which he sat every day behind his desk to a plastic horse head, a nod to his days as a defense attorney for certain well-known, or shall we say notorious clients. His office was filled to the rafters with collectibles. Now, I did ask him if Mayor Carolyn Goodman was letting him bring any of that home, and he responded with a resounding no.
Oh, Mayor Carolyn Goodman put her foot down.
Yes, she did.
She said no.
She did.
I've got 2 crowns, one a traveling crown and one that I wear in my office. I've got a robe, which was given to me by the ambassador of Uzbekistan, and since City Hall is closed on Friday as part of our budget, I come down here every Friday and take my shoes off and put the robe on and walk up and down the 10th floor, all about by myself, musing about the future of the city. And
difficult as it is to pick favorites, the mayor has a few he feels partial to.
I have a couple favorites. I have a great picture of me out there with Muhammad Ali next to boxing gloves that he gave me for my birthday, and it shows me giving him a right cross to his jaw. I'm very proud of that award, the Community Service Award. This was given to me by a federal law enforcement foundation. That red vase, so to speak, or bowl, that was given to me by the Conference of Mayors as being the Art Mayor of the Year. I have a wonderful statue from Nellis saying that I would be a great wingman for them.
And if you ever visit their house, you won't see any of that.
No, you won't. I wonder where it is now.
I don't know, probably in storage somewhere. I understand the throne is over at the plaza.
Yeah, it is. It is. So
You know, he
funny.
will always have a very special place in my heart. In fact, we became friendly throughout his mayorship. And when I got married in 2010, he did the vow renewal for my husband, Jim, and I.
So cool.
And, he didn't know Jim very well, so he asked me to do a little bio. And my
Right.
husband was a professional athlete. He was a baseball player with the Cardinals briefly. And before the mayor said, "You may kiss the bride," his line, he said, "You may have been able to pitch 98 miles an hour, but this is your best catch."
Oh!
And that needs to be cross-stitched somewhere.
Yes.
Such a wordsmith, such a master of the language. I just
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh, and he was right, too.
Yes.
Just saying. All right, speaking of married couples, now we're going to transition to the second Mayor
Yes,
Goodman. One was Mayor
2011.
Carolyn Goodman, right?
Yep.
And you guys had some really fun stories, right?
We did. And I think she was sworn in by her husband.
Yes. I love it. Let's take a look. And you know, Nancy, she really picked up the torch from her husband, Mayor Oscar Goodman, in terms of the revitalization for the city.
That's right. She continued the expansion of the medical district, public art support of early childhood education through programs such as Strong Start and our charter school, and so much more. More businesses downtown opening their doors across the city and downtown, and including getting us through some of our rough times, which we'll talk about just a little bit later on in the show. Now, Crystal, you might recall before she ran for her final term, she was diagnosed with cancer and was faced with the difficult decision of whether or not she would be able to get through another 4 years, 5 years as it turned out, with that cancer diagnosis. But as we all know, she didn't miss a beat.
She did not. And, you know, I was really touched by a story that you did. You had to sit down with the mayor. It was so beautifully done. You could definitely tell that you all had such a beautiful rapport with each other as well. And you were so willing, she was so willing to talk about her cancer journey. And it was that story that prompted me to send an email to her. And that really was how our friendship truly began, right?
Because my husband Jim and I have always been big fans of Crystal, and I would say that even if she wasn't sitting
Same here.
So to find out that that story, that interview touched you, and I respected you so much as a person and as a journalist, it really
Same
meant
here.
a lot to me. So right now we're going to take a look at just part of that interview that we did with Mayor Goodman as she so graciously shared her story in the hopes of helping others.
Let's start off with the most important question, and that is, how are you?
I'm great. I am so lucky. I know how fortunate I am, because through it all up until midway, probably, I had no idea that it was really for sure contained. You never believe everything you hear. And here I am, having gone through the whole process, and according to the reports, cancer-free. But I know, because I've been asked, and I said, cancer's part of me, and I know that, and you never stop having exams.
Tell us how it unfolded.
I thought, well, if I'm going to be lucky enough to try again for mayor, I'll do it in January. And so I went in for mammography, as one's supposed to do, and checkups with your gynecologist, or for men who should be doing it too with their physicians. And it came back, you know, we'd like to see you again, come on back in. And then they said, we have 2 spots that are strong. We're going to put you in for a biopsy on your lymph gland. And I heard that, and I thought, uh-oh, and your breast. And so on the other breast, here I was. I went back in, and it happened to be the second tests happened to be done the day of the state of the city. And I had told no one, and of course didn't tell my husband, who's the most explosive human being in the world. And as soon as they had the report, I think they must have rushed it through. They had it immediately, and that both the breast tissue and the lymph gland was cancerous. And so there I was, having to stand up and give one of my very short states of the city, as you well know, Nancy.
They get shorter every year.
Yeah, by 3 minutes. And
how did you do that?
You know, I think it was almost therapeutic, because I had to concentrate so heavily on about the subjects that I was speaking of, talking about our different council persons, and then the issues with which we were dealing. So I made it through it, and from there.
How important was your family through all of this?
Well, obviously I couldn't have done it without them. I think Oscar for sure. The worst part, of course, was telling him and then sharing it with the children who panicked. And of course, I was living through my own internal panics and anxieties. But without the family, without my 4 children and their spouses and the grandchildren, without question.
You know, and ultimately, when people are so open with their stories, your hope is to make an impact and possibly touch someone. And it was the mayor showing that vulnerability and being so open that really inspired you. In fact, when you were diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and we can report that you are cancer-free, oh, which is such a blessing. So we're so happy about that. But, you know, you made a point to make sure that you wanted to bring people along your journey.
Yes.
As you were experiencing this.
Same as the mayor. She taught me a very valuable lesson. If you're open about it, maybe you'll help somebody.
Yeah.
In fact, you and I did some very extensive interviews. First of all, about the diagnosis and how that hit me and my husband like a ton of bricks, the chemo and the radiation. And then we did a second one after that about the very extensive surgery that I had to undergo in order to get the cancer out of my body.
The recovery's been pretty brutal. In fact, you know, in the hospital afterwards, I was in the hospital for about close to a week afterwards. There were nights when I woke up, wonderful staff there, and I would cry and think that I didn't want to do this. I didn't want to do it. There was too many tubes. I was so uncomfortable. I was in so much pain. And the staff would come in there, some of them would come in and pray with me. Mm-hmm. These are nurses. They don't have to do that. But they did. And they just said, just every day, it's going to be a little bit better. Just keep the faith. Mm-hmm. And they were right. And here we are today.
For about 3 weeks, Nancy stayed at the hospital and at the City of Hope campus before heading home to continue with her recovery.
I was on a feeding tube.
Right.
And I was on the feeding tube for almost 3 weeks. I'm thinking, well, I'm hungry, I'm ready to eat. Well, you don't know how you're healing inside, so they don't let you have even a sip of water.
Now, Nancy can eat most foods, but in smaller portions. In fact, she's had to approach this journey in a similar manner, one small step at a time.
If I can learn it, anybody can, and that is give your body patience and grace, because it's doing the best it can. What I've learned through this, I hope other people can apply to any journey, whether it's a messy divorce, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a longtime spouse.
And I want to thank you and photographer Eric Sorensen for your graciousness during those interviews, because they weren't easy, but they were necessary. And I got to tell you, I've been very moved by the number of people that have reached out to me, either because they saw those on Channel 2 or YouTube, or on my Facebook accounts, and just having someone to talk to who's going through a similar journey, or someone to just listen. So I'm really glad that I was open about it.
You know, and we just have to applaud you for having the courage.
Well, thank you.
Because we know it's not easy. I know it was so difficult, going through that journey physically, mentally, emotionally, but then opening yourself up to share those intimate moments of your life. And I know it meant, she's going to make me, I know it meant so much to so many people.
Thank you. Well,
and we love you for that.
I was sharing it with a friend too. So anyway, thank you.
Of course. Well, you know, we've experienced some milestone events as a community, some challenging, some a little more upbeat, and gave us a reason to celebrate. So we're going to get into all that on the other side of the break. We love you.
Our story was begun by someone else. Our story was often shaped by generations before them. Our story was forged and maybe even defined by the experiences of our childhood. But it doesn't need to be. You can be the author. Learn how at numberstory.org.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
You think you've had a bad ride-share experience? Even the worst ride-share would be better than one of ours. But if you drive after drinking or consuming cannabis, this is the ride you're gonna get. Plan a ride, or law enforcement will pick you up. But at least you won't need to tip your driver. 0 fatalities. Lives are on the line. Paid for by the Nevada Departments of Public Safety and Transportation.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with us for this very, very special edition, hour-long edition, we should mention, of City Beat. I wish you can go on for hours, just me, because I'm sitting here next to this fabulous woman, the very lovely Nancy Byrne. She's been with us 20 years. She is retiring. But listen, her impact will forever be felt here at Channel 2 and the City of Las Vegas.
Thank you. I'm leaving it in very good hands, as you can see.
Well,
But
we'll hope.
We're talking about the last 20 years, and all of us as a community lived through some very significant events, like March 2020. Yeah. Where were you when COVID shut down our world? It was so surreal and eerie to see our normally 24/7 city standing still those first few days. Then we all kind of got used to a new normal, wearing masks, getting tested, vaccinated, social distancing, remember all those terms?
Yeah.
Homeschooling. Just a completely different world. And we lived like that for about a year before we started to come out of our cocoon and started living again. But it was a very trying time for everyone, especially our businesses struggling to survive, kids not being able to go to school and see their friends, working from home. I don't know. I don't think anyone's going to miss any of those days.
Yeah, definitely don't miss those days. And something else that obviously we'll never forget in our community is October 1, 2017.
Of course, we're talking about that horribly tragic shooting at the Harvest Festival on the south end of the Strip. And, you know, seeing the community come together with something that actually helped us get through that tragic time, like the organic way in which the Healing Garden downtown was built. It started out as some trees being donated, turned into the whole community coming together, building the beautiful garden complete with tiles and memorials to the 58 lives lost.
Yeah, it really was incredible to see the Healing Garden come together. And something else that was pretty incredible for our community, something that we could all get behind, it was not very long after that the Vegas Golden Knights had their inaugural game here in our community. And I think they have really become the homegrown team, right?
Yes, not only were they out there at blood drives and everything else, but their opening game, introducing themselves to our community.
Shortly after such a tragic moment.
So moving.
It was.
Please welcome to the ice, firefighter Ben Cole, firefighter Derek Sutherland, Joe Bruno, and RN, Dr. Jean-Tak Yoon, Sergeant William Mochko, Sherry Jones, a paramedic, AMR, Brad Skilling, an RN, firefighter Ryan Nemo, Engineer James Lobrovich, Dr. Syed Saqib, Nick Padula, AMR EMT, Dr. Michael Chang, Sergeant Stuart Richmond, Nurse Destiny Andrade, Nurse Jeanette Skapinski, K-9 Officer Dave Newton, Nurse Stacy C, Firefighter Tyler McFay, Andrew Jones, Dispatcher AMR Medic West, Nurse Tiffany Fontaine and RN, Aaron Goldstein, Paramedic Supervisor Medic West, Officer Tyler Peterson, Firefighter Ryan Haberman, SWAT Officer Levi Hancock, Sergeant Josh Bitsko. Welcome Nurse Maria Djokovic. These individuals will never be forgotten. May their light long shine.
And Nancy, fast forward to happier times. Our Vegas Golden Knights got it done, winning the Stanley Cup in 2023.
That's right. And then, you know, some ladies came to town and showed us how to play the game of basketball.
Oh, yes, they did. They didn't just do it one time.
Twice.
Just saying.
National champions.
Go Lady Aces.
Yes.
Got it done. And, you know, this really has propelled us in many respects to being not only entertainment, but also the sports capital of the world.
Something that the Goodmans had a lot to do
They
with.
sure
We
did,
have
yeah.
the Raiders. Hosted the Super Bowl. You know,
Sure
when
did.
I first started working for the city in 2004, we
Good
couldn't
point.
even advertise. The city of Las
Boy.
Vegas couldn't even advertise during the Super Bowl.
We've come a long way. We have football now with our Las Vegas Raiders. We have a little bit of everything. Minor league hockey as well, you know, so you name it.
The lights.
The lights. I mean, come on. We have it all.
And we're getting the A's.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes.
The list goes on and on and on. You have the dogs too, which is our professional rugby team. Yes. Yes. So I mean, you name it, we have it.
Now we're starting to get into topics that I don't propel in. So
that's not really our expertise, but we can give you kind of surface layer
we
knowledge,
can
right?
just give you like the surface stuff. But that might be a good time for us to wrap things up.
Yeah, I tell you what, it has been such a journey. We are so grateful for everything that you've contributed to the station. We're going to try not to cry as we wrap this up. But this is not goodbye. This is just see you later because you are still here in this community. You are still serving. And what I'm so excited for you in terms of this next chapter is now you're going to use your immense talent and your passion to give back, to be an advocate, just really speaking out about people empowering themselves when it comes to their health, talking about your cancer journey, and really hoping to help someone else.
That's right. So I just want to say before I go something that I said when Councilwoman Nancy Byrne had me on her show with David Riggleman. I'm so proud that I was able to work for the city and be able to tell the stories of our amazing staff here. I don't think people realize how dedicated and talented the people who work for the city of Las Vegas are. People love their jobs here. They do a great job here. And I just, of course, have to give a shout out to Jesse Harville, Eric Sorensen, Crystal Allen, Stephen Tyler Pierce, Steve Horlock, and all of the people that I've worked with that aren't necessarily at Channel 2, but have touched my life. You know, Diane Paul, David Riggleman, our director. It's been quite a journey, and I'm tired. So I think I'm going to go take some time off now.
We're going to let her have a little bit of a rest, but listen, I think she might be coming back to do some special correspondent work. I'm just saying.
After the holidays.
We're going to give her time to rest.
Thank you all for your support throughout the years. I love you, Lo. I love this city. I love what I do. And I'll see you again.
And we love you.
Find out what's going on all over the city of Las Vegas by subscribing to the City Beat e-newsletter. Simply scan this QR code to get a preview of each show twice a month.